this. This was the moment. This was the moment that everything changed. Is it weird that I kept this? Hi, my name is Tian. I talk about motherhood, I talk about healthy living, I talk about faith and all that good stuff. I'm gonna share how we found out we are pregnant and what my response was and what I did to prepare, and then what I wish I did to prepare, what I found to be pleasantly surprising about motherhood. So we found out we were pregnant right when I was about to start my own business. I was in the process of applying for a business license. Chris and I were married for just under a year and a half, and we knew we want to have kids eventually, just not so soon. We were probably thinking about 3-4 years down the road. Yeah, man plans, God laughs. Our expectation for whenever we found out we are first pregnant is that Chris is going to be the nervous one and I'm going to be the thrilled one, and it turned out to be the opposite. Chris enjoyed it. Chris was thrilled off the roof, and he went to get the second pregnancy test. No one believes the first pregnancy test. Take it from me, buy 2 at a time. So he was on the way to get the second pregnancy test just to be sure, and he was like crying in the car and worshiping and thanking God, and I'm crying at home too, but for a different reason. I was mourning. I was scared, I was thrown off. It was the realization that, wow, my life is going to change forever. And this is not the same kind of change as anything else I've experienced in life. The part that really stood out to me at the time was the anticipated loss of individuality. It's really different when 2 people are married. Sure, 2 become 1, but they are still individuals themselves and they are functional as individuals, hopefully. But it's not the same kind of dependency for a child towards his mother. So for me, it was realizing that, oh, I'm not the center of my universe anymore. Another layer of why I was crying is because I was guilty. I know how common miscarriage is, and I know how hard it is for a lot of women to conceive and carry full term. And the fact that I got pregnant so easily, unexpectedly, should be a joyful occasion. Yet I don't feel happy. But the more women I talk to, the more I realize that this is super common and that this is a process of mourning that a lot of people have to go through. I just wish that it's more talked about than it had been, so that if anyone else has to go through this, they don't feel alone and guilty. It's okay to take time and grace for yourself to go through that process of comprehension and wrapping your head around what is going on. It's okay. You know how they say you can never really prepare for parenthood? I heard that too. As an ex-project manager, when I heard this, I was like, challenge accepted. And truthfully, I think I was pretty good at preparing for it, to the best of my knowledge, which is only the knowledge. The knowledge side is pretty easy to prepare. There are some big areas, you just have to break down the topics and then find the answers for them. Take some courses, ask some questions, go to the mom groups and read all those threads and how people fight with each other, learn different opinions, and you're good to go. But knowledge is not experience, and that's the part that you can't prepare for. How naive I was. But the part I did prepare, for your reference, I spent a decent amount of time picking healthcare provider for myself and my baby. I worked on nutrition, I worked on my diet, I worked on working out, which never really came through. I did extensive research on shopping for baby stuff, baby essentials, and I built a registry. Spent a long time on strollers and car seats, which at the end of the day are not that important. I took a baby sleep course, a childbirth class, did a breastfeeding class. I lined up healthcare providers in the area of breastfeeding consulting and postpartum doula and all that stuff in case I need them. Now, don't get me wrong, these are all very, very helpful information to have. They are wonderful, but they are not why we can prepare for parenthood. Knowledge is a good part of the system that we can build to support the experience, but it's not the only part. There are many other parts that I wished I had prepared for that I did not. that I am going to share with you right now. First thing first is your village. Whether that is your friends, your family, nanny, postpartum doula, counselor, support groups, it's a group of people that makes you feel supported, that makes you feel like you're not alone, and can provide practical helps. I wish I had been more intentional about building that village, as well as realizing that, you know what, I could ask for help from these people. I was overtaxing myself, making sure that I am not asking help from other people. It sounds so silly, but it's one of my weaknesses. I am not good at asking for help. What that resulted in is a overtaxed body and overburdened mind. Right around 3 months postpartum, I had to go to the ER for appendectomy because of appendicitis, and as we all know, it doesn't just happen out of the blue. A lot of the times it's stress induced. Obviously, I had a body that decided that it cannot function like this anymore, and boom, it gave up on digestion. Looking back, that really could have been prevented. Had I been more attentive to what my body needs and what my mind needs, and just stop pushing myself when I start to feel strained, and start asking for help so that I don't just have to survive, but I can actually thrive. So the village is absolutely essential. We are not supposed to do this alone. So build your village and use them to your advantage. The second thing that I wish I had prepared for is more faith. I've once heard a preacher say, you are either going through a storm or you are preparing for a storm. During pregnancy, I think I had the wrong idea of where I'm at with the storm. I thought I was going through the storm when in fact I was supposed to be preparing for the storm. What does that practically look like? It could look like talking to women who are mature in faith, who have been mothers. It could look like setting up a support system with people that you trust that would check in on you frequently and ask you how you are doing spiritually after the baby is here. I know it sounds almost impossible to be able to prioritize quiet time and prayer in a time as intense as taking care of a newborn, but it really takes a lot of intentionality to squeeze those time in and use those little gaps here and there to spend time with the Lord. Before having a baby, my quiet time looks like this. A designated time in the morning. Before I start anything, I am having my coffee/breakfast and I'm reading the Bible. Good luck with that, having a newborn. I didn't know that I really should have been more prepared in practicing having quiet time and prayer time as I go about the day in those little gaps. That's the key. I wish I had been more used to doing that before having a baby, instead of being suddenly thrown into having to adapt to this new mode of spending time with the Lord. I mean, technically, we are supposed to spend time with God at all times, but it's something we can prepare for. It's something we can get used to before we have no option but this. I knew that I really should be preparing meals, and I did not. Thankfully, my mother-in-law had prepared frozen meals for us beforehand, and we could just heat things up as we go. I was having this unrealistic expectation that I was gonna take care of a baby and my husband's gonna take care of me. No, we are both taking care of the baby. And the last thing we need was having to figure out what's the next meal. Please don't do what I did. Prepare your meals beforehand. And if you don't have time and the third trimester's hitting you hard, it's okay. Get those pre-made meals. Get those meal kits that you could expect a delivery at your door on time, and you can follow instructions, step 1 to 3, to cook those meals without having to think too much. Get a meal train set up so that your family and friends can commit to helping you with food. Whatever way it is, please do not expect to have time to cook. What was I thinking? As much as the framework of support can be prepared, the big struggle is really with the mind. Just coming to terms with the fact that my life is forever changed and will never be the same. Wow, it takes so long. In fact, the battle is still going on every day. It's like it always will. It's true. You can never really prepare for parenthood. And so I find myself embracing a new attitude that I never thought I would. It's just not a reason anymore to avoid a new season in life because I can't fully prepare for it. It's actually very freeing for me to realize that that is the nature of life. I'm the kind of person that have to have all the ingredients laid out, chopped up, prepared before I turn on the stove. But now I am giving myself grace and room to explore new things that I didn't think I ever could. I am allowing myself to figure it out as I go. I'm so grateful to be set free from that old mindset of having to have everything together and figured out before I start. And that is one of the reasons I'm even making this video. And that brings me to the most exciting part of this video, sharing with you the pleasant surprises I found out about motherhood. There are so many beautiful qualities and fruits of the spirit that I know I am capable of but never had access to, that I now have access because, well, I need them. First being learning how to prioritize. After having a kid, I finally came to terms with the fact that life is just going to be pretty crazy most of the time. There will always be something going on. So the consequence of not learning to prioritize was not as serious before I had a kid. It was so easy to just set the priorities of the day as I go about the day. Just do what interests me in the moment. Now I can't really afford to do that because I just don't have so much freedom, and so I must know what is truly important to work on right this moment. What I didn't realize until I had a baby is also that I allowed others to set my priorities. For example, I'm scrolling on Instagram, I'm just watching a YouTube video as I had my lunch. It was a video or content about clean with me, organize my pantry with me, and I would just look at that and be inspired, and I would decide on the spot that, you know what, my pantry needs organization too. I just start chasing down the rabbit hole for a few hours, doing something that I never planned before, that is not actually the priority of my life. But now, because the consequence of not knowing what to prioritize is a lot worse with a baby, I must know what is truly important to me and my family right here, right now. I also realized that I could be disciplined, and that is only because the circumstance forces me to be disciplined. I always struggled with going to bed on time or making sure I move my body, but now I really need energy in order to go through the day. It is pretty labor intensive to start to take care of a baby. So making sure that I go to bed on time, eat right, move my body moderately, they're all very essential to make sure that I even am able to function throughout the day. I'm learning to streamline a lot of things I can prepare beforehand, things like certain sets of menus that I would just rotate throughout the month so that I don't have to think about where to order groceries from, what I should be cooking this week, or if I know that I am going out tomorrow, I'll make sure that the diaper bag is packed beforehand and that it's in the car already so that the next day when I am about to head out, I'll just be making sure that the baby is ready. I have also learned to put down my pride. Growing up, I was taught to be self-sufficient, and asking for help is not only a sign of weakness, but also is a cause for others' inconvenience because they have to extend themselves, extend their resource and time to help you get by with what you need. But growing up and coming to Christ, I have realized that the reality is we need each other. We can't live by ourselves, and we can't be fully self-sufficient. If not because I became a mother, I don't know how much longer I'll have to live in this unrealistic idea that I can be self-sufficient and I don't need others. In fact, I was wrecked by how much help I needed after I had Zion, and I'm glad that I've come to the end of myself and that I no longer have to strive with everything I have so that I don't need others' help. In my experience, it truly takes a village to raise littles, and it's never meant to be done by just two parents. And I am glad that it humbled me and forces me to ask for help. I'm telling you, so many beautiful relationships sprung out of that. I would not change it for the world. It's also an opportunity for us to have experienced God's faithfulness and provision through the help that He offered through the people around us. Last but not least, I am starting to die to selfishness and self-centeredness that I didn't realize was such a dominant part of me. Obviously, taking care of another human being who is fully dependent on you to survive is not a ball you want to drop. I was never given such responsibility in my life. My mom's generation or the generations before that, a lot of people have the experience of raising farm animals. If you have raised farm animals, you know it is a lot of responsibility. They depend on you, and you can't just decide one day you wake up with a headache and you don't want to milk the goat. It's not an option. I think our generation is just grown up in such unrealistic comfort that we have not been given real responsibilities as we grow up. So for me, it's a learning process. It really is very painful to die to selfishness and self-centeredness. I'm glad that I'm dying to it because it really is not a pleasant thing to possess. I have learned that I am capable of so much more than I knew after I became a mother, and thankfully I didn't have to wait 3-4 years after marriage to learn that. And God has given me such a beautiful gift of this child, but I also want to know what your experience is like finding out that you're going to be a parent. So let me know in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this video or if there is any takeaway from this video, please give it a thumbs up. Hit the subscribe button with the bell button thing so that you don't miss an update. Thank you for watching.